Hey, Shalom, Shalom, when the stuff was always but giving no praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Rakakwadash, the blondest, the apostles of GMS, and honesty brothers doing the work in truth, while sincerity. This is gonna be a quick one on, one of my pet hates, and that is, when people speak on our behalf. So this is inspired from the video that Apostle Tahar posted of that, that so-called Christian, that coon, basically telling the world about who we are. Well, my question is, why don't you ask us, right? Why don't you go to our videos and actually understand what it is that we're talking about, right? Because once again, they titled us Black Hebrew Israelites, when we've told you guys many times over and over and over again that's not how we identify, that's not who we are. What about the Latin tribes? What about all the Israelite foreigners scattered among, throughout the entire world, right? We've got a brother in our camp who's from Turkey, right? This is Exodus 20:16. Says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor," and that's what happens when you're not informed, right? You start bearing false witness, which is what these guys said. One of the things they said is they only know 8 Hebrew words. Right, you got brothers that, Apostle spoken about how they'll, but we know the Hebrew, man. You know what I'm saying? Brothers, there are brothers who know the Hebrew well. The apostles know the Hebrew. Right? But because you're uninformed, because you've not come to us and asked us, like if you had come up to us a bit and made that statement, brothers may have taught you Hebrew. They may have taught you Hebrew by sending up a curse on you, man, in Hebrew. Right? This is Ecclesiastes 12:13. Says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter." Right? And that's at the end of the day, that's the thing. You always got to get the conclusion of the whole matter. Well, at this point, it's fear the Most High and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man, right? So one of the things you fear the Most High is you respect His prophets, right? If a man's claiming to be a prophet of the Lord, you got to try the spirit, and then if you find not to be a prophet of the Lord, then hey, you can mock, you can do whatever it is that you're doing, right? If a man be found to be of the devil, right? But you got to hear the conclusion of the whole matter. What is the point, right? This is Ecclesiastes 5:1. Says, "Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High." Right, and that's what these guys don't seem to understand. That this is the Most High's work, right? This what you call it? They don't seem to realize the work of the Most High, so they feel inclined to mock. Right, they feel, just to take the piss as they're doing, right? But it says, "And be more ready to hear." Yeah, hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Hear what's being said, right? You get people come up to the camp and talk, right? And then they end up getting cursed out and condemning themselves, right? And all they had to do was listen and actually realize, what it is that we're saying. There'll be times guys will come up, and then we're not even disagreeing with what they're saying, but they just in that scoffer spirit, right? Pursuant to, was it 2 Peter 3:3, the last day there shall come scoffers, right? It says, "For they consider not that they do evil," right? That's it. They just look at a bunch of niggas. That's how we look to them, right? And in that day when our faces are being plastered up, none of the Israelite foreigners, that's the way I perceive it. Right, like I said, we've got a brother from Eritrea, brother from Turkey in our camp. They'll find the still when it's all just the darkest skinned brothers, the so-called black brothers. That's the way I perceive they go and do it. Why? Because they show the brother in the camp, then they gotta be like, well, but you call these guys Black Hebrew Israelites, and we told you we ain't, right? But you just want to talk of your own emotions. You're a babbler. Right, you're bearing false witness, and the Most High is going to judge you for that. That's why, even everything that we do, right, we can't be ignorant, right? That's a thing of the world. That's something, I've been trying to work on myself, right? This is Ecclesiasticus Sirach verse 5, verse 15. It says, "Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small." Right, so you can't just be moving ignorant. You got to know what it is you're talking about, right? Because one day, you talk about something, in front of someone who's well versed, right, and then they'll make you look stupid. It's happened to me. I'll put my hands up, right? And where did that come from? That came from ignorance, right? And that's what these guys are doing. They're being ignorant. They don't know anything about us. They think they do, right? They don't even, when the guy was in the video, he didn't even categorize that. He clumped together all the different ideologies from each different, camp, right? He was just, he didn't say, one group believes this, one group believes that, one group accepts blah, 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 or another group this, that, and the other, right? The guy was just straight talking out of his ass, being ignorant, right? Right, this is Proverbs 17:28. It says, "Even a fool, right, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding." Right, so if you don't know anything of a particular subject, shut the hell up, man. Right, that goes to us as well. You can't just be winging it, right? Because then what happens? You get made to look a fool. Right, like I said, here it is. You profess to be a man of the Lord, and then you speak on something to the unwashed masses, to the heathens, to people in the world, right? And then you're just talking out your ass, and then how does that look? Makes you look unlearned. It makes you look like a fool, right? And this is here saying, like, even if someone who is actually a fool, you might have someone in the crowd listening, right, and then they're just a fool, right? They don't know anything or whatever. They disagree with everything we're saying, right? If they don't say anything, right, you be like, maybe he was receiving it. I don't know. But if he's talking, that's why it says here, what do you call it? Sacrifice of fools in Ecclesiastes 5:1. You're just talking out your ass for talking's sake, right? What's a good habit to get into? If you don't know, just saying, "Hey, look, man, I don't know on that particular subject." When I remember, a while back, the apostles got on their camp. The video came out. They basically were being presumptuous. Though, just talking about something they didn't know. When the apostles were like, "If you didn't know, you should have said, 'Hey, look, man, we don't know. What I can do is, we got our teachers. I can ask my teachers, what do you call it? I can ask my teachers, and then they'll, what do you call it? They will, guide me or give me the understanding on that, not just winging it out your ass, right?" Let me get this. Matthew 12:36 says, "But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment." Right, so if you're talking, about the men of the Lord, you're slandering the men of the Lord because you have no understanding, right? And that guy had no understanding because his co-presenter was a woman. You know what the scriptures say, 1 Corinthians 14:34, right? 2 Timothy 2, right? The scriptures are very plain about, the hierarchy of things, in regards to men and women, right? Yeah, she was just there running her mouth, giving her her unwanted opinion, right? So that he's gonna have to pay for those words. Oh, they only know 8 words of Hebrew. Right, it's taking a piss. This is James 1:19. It says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear." Right. So basically, you get the understanding, man. You call it, someone saying something, or some things, you listen to it, right? Slow to speak, right, and slow to wrath. These guys were what you call it? Slow to hear and quick to speak before they even knew the conclusion of the whole matter, or despite the fact that there's tons and tons and tons and hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of videos that brothers have been, starting from the apostles on down, have been putting out for, over a decade now, right? Now you might say the YouTube channel's gone, but hey, brothers used to post on Daily Motion. That's all there. Like, you could go to those and watch those for yourselves, right? But these guys don't want to hear. They don't want to hear. They just want to run off their own emotions, right, and talk out their ass, right? And once again, this goes towards, you get certain times when, something may have happened, and before someone's even heard the conclusion of the whole matter, right, they're already speaking. It's like, wait, hang about. You've got to make sure you've heard what it is that's being said. How can you make a judgment? We're supposed to be kings and priests and rulers, but you're making a judgment before you even know the full story. Right? It says Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Right? So, this guy's, was talking out of his ass, not realizing he's doing evil. Right? Now he must die, lest he repent. Right? It says death and life, because you people don't understand. They'll come out to the camp and mock, not realizing that they're marking themselves for destruction. A simple thing like that. Right? It says, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Right? So you gotta watch what you say. You gotta watch what you say, and you gotta be informed, right? Don't just be a headline guy. But once again, that's something I myself am trying to work on, not being a headline guy, just reading the headline and thinking you know the whole story, right? You always got to remember these headlines are sensationalized so that you actually click on them and you actually got to read into the article, right? Because at the end of the day, this man's a devil, which is why certain news, if it's like mainstream news, I prefer, say, Reuters, AP News, whatever, because that's just news. They don't try, all them sensational headlines, and some, you might read it, let's say a New York Times article, right, and then the first 3 paragraphs are fluff. They're full of shit, right? But that's a story for another day. But yeah, be informed, right? Be informed before you talk out your arse, and sometimes you got to put your hands up and say, I don't know. Right? So that, Lord's will, that was edifying. Till the next time, Shalom.